All right, guys, we are on our next episode, and I'm so glad to have Scott Spears coming on. He's a brother veteran. He's all about knowing how to do leadership, transformational leadership, and I'm glad to have him on because he's going to talk about an important topic. And before I start talking about the topic, let me introduce him real quick. Scott has traveled the world for the past 30 years, living in 52 different countries. Okay, that's 52 countries, serving in two combat tours in the delivery of regional and global projects as a global consultant as well. He understands as a military veteran about the suffering of PTSD, and he clinically died from burnout. And I don't know if you want to talk about that later on because that's fascinating. Scott had to transform his life, and in the process was enlightened through his recovery on how to apply his knowledge into transforming lives and business with a structured approach of elevating performance, energy, health, and profit, all good things. Additionally, Scott offers leadership and transformational services, helping executives and managers take their organization to the next level of performance, productivity, profitability by consulting and enlightening in the next generational strategies, planning, and pivoting, especially in COVID and post-COVID eras, which is, hey, we need this. Okay, Scott is currently based in the Andean mountains of Colombia, where he coaches from his newly opened Anicia. See, look, and it's Anicia Wellness Center. This is so awesome. Scott, welcome. Thank you for coming on, brother.
Joe, thank you. Give you a salute. Always nice to be talking to a fellow vet. And thank you for your service. And no, thank you for having me on here on this important subject.
Yeah, and it is an important subject, guys. You gotta dig deep into what we're about to talk about. Scott, he understands the importance of time management. And it was like, wait a minute, time management? Look, time management, time blocking, utilizing your time properly. Scott knows the importance of this. I know the importance of this, but if for some reason, and I have clients, and I've talked to other people as well, they have a hard time managing their time. And it's a hard time managing their time. It's like, but it's so important. And Scott's going to explain why it's so important, how to manage your time and the effectiveness of it. So Scott, before I keep on yip yapping and talking, brother, how can you help us understand the importance of time management, brother?
All right. Thanks, Joe. Time management is to me the foundation of our lives, basically, because we only get a certain amount of time, really. And I always like to look at time as a budget. We look at budgets mostly with money, but we also should look at a time budget in our life, basically. And we can, separate that into different activities, whatnot. But to go back like to the military, I always laugh at, the term hurry up and wait, right? So that was kind of embedded in us. I mean, I went in when I was 17, and it was just so frustrating. It's like, okay, you got to be here 15 minutes before, get in formation, be ready to go. And then, command doesn't show up for another half an hour, right? So you're sitting there, but you get the importance of, all right, I need to be prepared before it's time, right? So that's one thing that was ingrained in me for my entire life from the military. But time, to me, like I said, is the foundation, and it's so important because you mentioned a part of my story where I clinically died from burnout. And I'll go into that because after I got out of the military, I started doing global consulting, doing projects all over the world, large scale, small scale, many at the same time. So not to be over time, but I've got maybe like 3 or 4 different projects in different countries going on at the same time. And they all need to run efficiently. They all need to run according to the schedule that I put together, right? And I've always been fascinated with time because it's like a puzzle to me, right? It's okay. I have a little bit of time there, I can do that. I have a little bit of time there, I can do that. A little bit of time there, and fit everything in. And in the professional world, it's great to have that skill, but not to overdo it. And that's what happened to me is I took on too much and just said, okay, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Whatever they throw at me, it was part of ego too, where it's like, okay, I can show them that I can do it, right? Because everybody would doubt, oh, he's not going to be able to handle this project and that project and that project. But I would, and I did for like 15 years. But you know what? All of a sudden, that stuff catches up with you. It's
Yes,
like
it
running.
does.
It's like running a marathon every day almost.
Mm.
So it's take the marathon analogy as an example. You train for a marathon. You go to the gym, you run every day, and then you build up to that race, and then you run it, but then you have to recover. My case, I never recovered, and a lot of people in the professional world never take the time to recover. And that just builds up and builds up and builds up. And that's what happened to me 4 years ago. I ran right into a wall and basically collapsed and died on the floor. Luckily, had some friends there that were able to revive me. And yeah, it was a really scary and weird situation for me, because I've never been the kind of person that's especially traveling so many different countries. You got to take care of yourself physically, but I say physically because that's where most of the problem came from. I was focusing purely on my physical self and never giving my mental self enough balance. So as much as you take care of yourself physically, that's only going to help you so much, right? You got to find that balance. And that's what I found through my whole experience in this, dying from burnout and figuring out what I had to do next. Because the next step, you would think that would be a wake-up call, but it really wasn't. The ego still had me saying, all right, you got to show them you can get back in the game and continue on. Of course, I went to the hospital, took a bunch of different tests and cardio, brain tests, everything that you could think of. And really the only thing that I had to do physically, basically, was to change my diet, because I found some foods that I was intolerant to, etc. But to get back on the subject, I jumped back into the game, continued going, but I really didn't have that wake-up call that I needed until my contract expired, which was right before COVID, which was a blessing, because then it forced me to stop. I was used to going 100 miles an hour, for so many years, and then all of a sudden the brakes are on, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell do I do now? I'm so used to go, 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 go. And I didn't know how to stop. And what that did, that along with a few other things that happened in my life that just kind of crashed down on me. I call it my tsunami. Sorry for my language, but that's what kind of brought me into the PTSD as well. I was having anxiety attacks after I died from the burnout, and I didn't really know what all that was from. Of course, some of it was from dying, but a lot of it was things that I didn't approach or didn't face from my past. Some in the military, some as a kid, etc. But to get back onto the time management, I had to figure out, okay, first of all, I've got to take care of myself. And that's when I realized the importance of mental health, balancing mental health with the physical health, right? I was an expert in time management in my job, but I was horrible in my personal life, right? I was a procrastinator. I put work first, always, 100%, and everything else came to me. Whatever time left that I had after work was mine. And usually I was too damn tired to do anything.
Right.
Besides go to the gym and continue to try to take care of myself, the basics, but I had never really taken a time out. So when I went into this depression after my contract expired and I was forced to stop, I had to figure out, okay, well, sorry, rewind a little bit. I was trying to fix myself at home here in Colombia where I live, but I was comfortable, right? And I wasn't doing anything. I was just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And after a month, I figured out I lost 30 pounds. I looked at myself in the mirror after I got out of the shower and I was unrecognizable to myself. And I had that serious, soldier conversation with myself, like, who the are you? Who are you? This is not you. You need to fix yourself. And that's when I decided I was going to go to India. And I went to India for a month and did a Vipassana meditation for 10 days. And that's where I learned, I mean, I knew about anicca. Anicca is actually the law of detachment, basically. And I'll get into that and how this all transpires into time management. Is I went there, I went to a yoga university for about a week, went and had a few different lectures there about depression, mindset, mental health, etc. And it was really interesting because, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with like the Indian culture, business culture, but they work their ass off. I mean, it's nonstop. I'm sure you've heard kind of like how some of the schools are, like in Asia, like in China, and it carries over into the business world as well. There's a lot of expectations, and what I learned over there is that they actually take a week off a year to just work on themselves. So it was like this total new way of thinking for me. Like, wow, that's pretty cool. You just kind of give yourself and your mind a vacation, rather than the vacations that we're used to going, let's go to the Dominican Republic and do a all-inclusive for 1 week and eat and drink and everything. But you're still with the family, still with the kids. You still might have that laptop you're working on, You really don't take that time out for yourself. So that's something I learned in India. And again, the importance of the mental health balance with the physical health, because it's extremely important. And seeing that different practice of how people would take a week off and go work on themselves, go to these lectures, find new practices, and just basically work on themselves was really cool. And after that, I went to this 10-day Vipassana meditation, and that's where I really took my time management to the next level. Because basically you disconnect from everything. You lock up in a locker your laptop, your phones, even your watch, which was really, really hard for me because I've always got to know what time it is and I got to be here, I got to be there. But this is just a total disconnect from the world. And you basically meditate for 9 hours a day, which is really, really difficult. I mean, it sounds easy. Let's go sit down and just sit there for an hour at a time. But man, you go through excruciating pain, first of all, physical, because you can't move. You're supposed to sit there for the whole hour each time. But when you go through this practice, you actually start connecting to yourself. And that's when I started working through the PTSD, working through a lot of things that I was going through. And when I came out of that, I learned how to detach from the past, right? And that's something that I had a problem with, and a lot of people have problems with, is, especially in the business world, if you make a mistake, we kind of get hung up on that and carry that with us all the time, where it's like, okay, it was a mistake, learn from it, take the lesson, and then let it go. Yeah. When you let it go, that's when you start getting that energy back, that mental energy back. And the more of those that you have, the more you're going to feel like you're dragging. Leading up to the last few years before I died, I felt like I was losing a lot of energy. I just attributed that to age. I was like, shit, I'm getting old. Got to get back in the gym and keep going, but it wasn't. It was really just a compilation of a lot of things building up over a period of my life that I had not confronted. Okay. Mm-hmm. So learning how to detach from that, and then also having to sit there for an hour at a time with the meditation, and work through the pain. You also learned a bit of this mind over matter, right? So the mind over matter, learning how to detach from past episodes, whatever, really puts you on a level playing field with yourself to start anew. So when I left India, came back to Colombia, pandemic. All right, what am I going to do now? Am I going to go back home to California? Am I going to stay here? I don't know. I found a cabin in the mountains. That's where I am now. That's where I'm building this wellness center, Anicca, which means the law of detachment. And that's where I decided to stay. And that's when I started figuring out, okay, well, what can I do? What am I good at? Number one, hell, time management. Because, all right, I was able to do all these projects all over the world and all at the same time, but now I gotta do it for myself. So I started doing my life as a project. Okay. I looked at myself as a project and started building my life the way I would build a project for a client, you know. And what starts, what's the first thing, the foundation of a project is the time, right? Your objective and the time you want to complete that. So that's what I started doing, is building my life as a project and looking at me as a project. And I'm the priority. Once I was able to transfer all my business knowledge and some of the knowledge I got in India and other cultures around the world into my project, I was able to figure out what I wanted to do. It's like, okay, I can do this on me. I can definitely help other people and businesses at the same time do their transformation work. But it all starts with time. And that's why my program is called Time, Life, Self, because you work on your time management. Okay. Once you get your time squared away, then you know what you're going to be doing. Then you know what's next, the next day and the next day and the next day. Of course, life happens, but and you have to adapt here and there. Right. But you have a path, you have a plan, and you know when you're going to do things. And that's just one less thing for you to worry about. So when you wake up in the morning, you already know what you're going to do. Now it's time to organize, right? Exactly. So I go from time management to life organization, and then into self-development or self-discovery, basically. So that's the program that I work on now. But basically the whole transformation scene revolves around time management.
Man, hey guys, and you know what? You're kind of you're already confirming something that I was talking to a couple of my clients earlier. Matter of fact, last week, that your time and the way you structure your time, whatever you want to accomplish, you have a goal, you have a vision for your business, whatever. But if you don't structure your time appropriately as a foundation, everything else that you build is going to be kind of shaky and wobbly because you're not building that foundation of the time, managing your time, building your schedule to build up to whatever you need to accomplish. So I love this, and it's vitally important. That's why when we were talking, I was like, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about the time management. So, yeah. So Scott, so what are, I guess, a couple of tips for our audience to like, hey, look, this is some of the time management 101 that's effective and that you've learned and that your clients, customers like, hey man, this is spot on.
Sure. I'll give you 3 good ones. Number 1, go old school, get that pad of paper out and pencil and start writing everything down, right? A bad habit I used to do is I used to write down, 100 different things. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I'd say, okay, I got to do all of this today. And if I didn't write it all down, I felt like I was going to forget it, right? But by doing that habit, and that's what a lot of people do, they'll write everything down that they want to do, but then the important part is to schedule that, right? And the tip number one is pick 3 to 5 different things and put them down for what you want to do, what you absolutely have to do today to knock it out, right? And you know what? You might only be able to do 2 of them, and that's okay. All right. Because guess what? Nobody's an expert in time management. I'm not an expert in your time management. So you have to kind of learn this yourself. What can you handle? Right. So you might write 5 things down, but only knock out 2. Okay. So tomorrow I'm only going to write down 3 and see if I can do 3. And then I still might only be able to do 2. All right. I'm consistently on a pattern of getting 2 must do's done a day. And that's what you have to do. You have to also monitor your progress. Okay. So the important thing of writing these things down, 2 to 3 to 5 things a day, is to check your progress and to check your patterns as well. The first exercise I do with my clients is I give them a week exercise, and I've got a template here that they basically, for each hour of the day, it sounds tedious, but it's really not, because you only have to do it maybe 2 times a day because you know what you did all day, and just choose from a drop down what category of basically activities you did during that hour. Could be sleep, that's 8 hours, or 5, who knows, getting ready for work, school, work, etc. And at the end of the week, it calculates to show you how much time you spent in each category of your life. So a lot of people will say, I don't have time to do this. But after that week, they'll look and say, damn, I spent 8 hours on social media. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Let's take maybe a couple hours out of that and put it in something else that you really want to do. So again, learning about your own time management is crucial. I suggest writing things down. If you feel comfortable with writing a whole list down, great, do that. But put it in proper days and be realistic with yourself. That's another tip. Be realistic, and at the same time, be kind to yourself. If you're being realistic, you're automatically being kind to yourself. So at the end of the day, when you say, okay, I got to do these 3 things, and you did 2 of them, like I said, the next tip is to do a self-diagnosis at the end of the day before you go to sleep sometime, and just review your day. Say, okay, did I do these 3 things that I wrote down? No, I did only 2. Okay, but that's progress. So be happy with the progress. Learn why you didn't do the other thing that you didn't list. Was it too much? Did something come up? Life happens again. So be kind to yourself. All right. Be realistic and be kind to yourself. And yeah, those would be some major tips right there, that I would recommend. The other one, I remember you said time blocking. And to be honest, I never heard of time blocking before that. So I looked it up, and I was like, well, this is kind of what I do in a way anyway. And time blocking, like what you mentioned in your post, is dedicating certain amount of times during the day or night, whenever you're working or whenever you're scheduling, to do a specific amount of tasks, basically. But to me, the next level of that is really what it's all about. And that's having your plan. So time blocking really isn't worth a damn unless you have a plan, right? So you could look at it, you could look at it like perfect example. Okay, your 3 to-do lists, right? Okay, I've got to go to the supermarket and get groceries today. I've got to go pick up Joe Jr. from school. I've got to swing by my friend's house to pick up this report, right? Now, when you do that, okay, you got these 3 things, but what order are you going to put them in? You're going to do your Google Maps, your Waze. You're going to look at that and say, okay, what's the most efficient way of doing these 3 things in the least amount of time possible? You're not going to drive across town 3 times to get the thing done when you can hit this spot here, that one, and then drive all the way home. So time blocking is a really good tool, but really only if you have a plan, a good plan to go with it. So planning is everything on that.
I love it, because I'm gonna throw this question at you, because
Okay.
I've heard it many a times, many a times. They're like, well, Joe, I don't have time to schedule my time. And I'm like, what? I mean,
Uh-huh.
so I mean,
Uh-huh.
what can you say to somebody that says, I don't have time to schedule my time? I mean,
We'll
it's
go back to tip number 2. Be realistic. Yeah. Be real with yourself. Of course you have time. You're basically procrastinating. That's all it is. And that's the truth. That's the truth. And that's one reason I forgot to tell you why I like to say, write only 2 or 3 things down. Don't write more, because what I used to do, I used to write that huge list. I'd say 10 things, right? Knowing I'm only going to do 5 of them, the 5 that I want. Yeah. The other 5 are going to go in a procrastination bucket, as I call it. So I'll do those tomorrow. Put those same 5 things down on the next list for tomorrow. I still don't do it. They go back into the procrastination bucket. It's the same thing. I don't have time. Shit. You have time. You just have to make the time. Yeah. There's no other way around it. You're just lying to yourself.
Wow.
Sorry.
Well, hey, sometimes we need to hear it raw, real, upfront, in our face. I sometimes I call it grace in your face, because
Yes.
if we don't care enough to say that you're full of it right now, because that you have time, you're just not prioritizing it,
Right.
not making it the effort to do so. And I like the way you say make that list, but then pick 2.
Yeah.
And make, yeah, and it is, give yourself a little bit of grace, give yourself a little bit of realistic expectations, so you don't overload yourself, because you're already overloaded as it is. And I
Right.
like that, to diagnose, like you said, diagnose at the end of the day, evaluate. I like calling it having a positive evaluation, a proper positive evaluation at the end of the day, to say, look, what didn't I accomplish? What did I accomplish? How can I do it better? Because I like using the terms like, how can I, instead of, oh, I didn't do it, I failed. Da, da, da. Get those words out of your mouth.
Exactly.
Keep the positive expectations of what you say, because then the next day you say, okay, well, I did accomplish this. I made progress on that. What can I tweak? What can I do? Where can I grab some more time from? Like you said, and that social media stuff. Whew, man, yeah, exactly.
It traps you.
Yeah, it does. It's
You're
a
hooked.
net. I mean, just the other day when I was trying to prepare for another podcast and everything else like that, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, let me check Instagram real quick. Wrong answer. Wrong answer. Then I looked at the time, like, oh my gosh, it was like a time warp. It was like a vortex of
Yeah.
just sucking me in, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm running late here.
It
And
happens to all
whose
of
fault is
us.
that? That's my fault.
Yeah.
I had to own it, but then I was like, I used to beat up myself, like you said. I used to beat myself up,
Mhm.
lived in the past. But I was like, no, now I was like, okay, I know I did it. I got to get over it. What can I do better the next time to not get sucked in? Okay.
100%.
And that's what we're talking about. This time is your most precious commodity.
Yeah, Joe, I'd like to offer one more tip
All right.
on that last question you said. Someone who says that I don't have time to make time or schedule my time, right? And I do hear that sometimes too from let's say like single parents,
Mm.
they feel like they've got to be Superman, Superwoman, whatever. Don't underestimate your supporting cast. You have friends, you have family. There will be somebody, excuse me, there will be somebody that is willing to help you, give you that hour of time help you with the kids, help you with whatever else that you need help with. Just take an hour, ask for help. And
Mm.
that is extremely tough. That was something really tough for me to do when I was going through my PTSD and everything, admitting that I needed help because I was used to be able to handle it all on my own. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Find
Mm.
someone that you trust, that is there for you, and ask them for some help. Hey, I need an afternoon. I need to knock this out. If you can help me with the kids, if I can bring them over and they can play with your kids or whatever, give me a free afternoon. That's all I need. And there you go. You know, there's
Mm.
always solutions, but sometimes you need to just ask for help.
Wow. You know, that's an awesome aspect of time management. Simply asking for help. And I've been there. I've been there, brother. And there's a lot of people that we're self-autonomous. You know, we can do it on our own.
Yeah,
I'm capable. And so there's nothing wrong with asking help and still being capable.
totally.
And,
100%.
it's part of being capable. I mean, if you look at all these CEOs, business gurus, like what, Warren Buffett, okay, Tesla, Amazon, all these guys that we look at is like, man, these guys are super successful, whatever, whatever, whatever. Oprah Winfrey. Guess what? They got a support staff. They don't do it
Exactly.
on their own. Like
Yep.
when Oprah used to do her shows, I didn't see her on the camera and then run over and interview somebody and then run back and I got to switch the camera view. No, there was a support staff. So
Exactly.
why can't you ask for support to help actuate your time management? Man, that is gold. That is
Yeah.
gold. I love that. And before we go, Scott, before we go, I want to make sure, where can they reach you and get more, find out more about you, schedule time, conference call, whatever.
Yeah, cool. Well, here on here, it's got my email address, scott@scottjspears.com. Actually, I do a lot of classes, personalized classes, for people who I mean, everybody's situation is different,
Yes.
right? And everybody's, they might be interested in time and how to get more out of it, etc. So, I also on my Instagram, I have at time_life_self. I put tips almost every day out there. And right now I'm putting tips on mindset and transformation. But if you look back previous this year in Q1, it was all time management. And so I've got tips out there on my Instagram, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the best way to get in contact with me. But yeah, hit me on the email if anybody's got any questions or concerns, and happy to have a discussion.
What about before we go, your wellness center? If you can talk about
Yeah,
that.
the wellness center. I'm actually is here in Colombia, so most of the people here in Colombia is more attracted to. It's up in the mountains, and that's where I have a small studio in the cabin that I have, and I do wellness classes from there, and also the coaching and consulting from there as well.
Okay. And Anisha?
Anisha.
See, I said it right.
Yes.
I said it
Yes.
right.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
And that's, I'm very curious about that Anisha, your wellness center. And you know what? I would say, man, y'all reach out to them, because I would say it would probably be like a good vacation time to come out and do that for businesses or whatever, that they want to come out into the mountains in Colombia and to get some training about time management and whatever Scott has to offer for your wellness. I think that is super awesome. Instead of being in the United States, man, go to Colombia, bro.
Yeah, go travel a little bit. Come down here to Colombia, South America. It's a great place. Yeah, it's safe. It's in the forest. It's a really nice, peaceful place to just disconnect and work on yourself. And that's what I wanted to have that for, to offer other people, because it's so hard and in big cities like Bogota, you know, it's nonstop, just like any other big city. And it's just a nice outlet for people to go to and disconnect and work on themselves.
All right. No, this is super awesome. Scott, thank you again for coming on. And you know, I need to bring you on again, just so we could talk about what's your next project, what's your next thing that you're doing. And you know, maybe if I'm ever down in Colombia, I'm gonna hit you up, say
Yeah,
hello.
please do.
You know,
Please do.
once the restrictions and everything else lift and everything else like that, hopefully we won't need like vaccine passports or something like
Yeah,
that. But I
yeah, who
know,
knows what's gonna happen.
who knows?
That's why I say we got to learn to adapt and, you
Yeah,
know, roll with it. And
exactly.
life happens. So, but no, love to have you down here, Joe, and anybody else who's interested. And yeah, good time. And thanks for having me today.
Yeah. And again, reach out to Scott at scottjspears.com. Check him out. Check out his Instagram, live. What was it again?
Time_life_self.
And look, he's a great guy. He loves people. He wants to help people go to the next level of their life and to find that time that they sorely need. All right, guys. Bless you guys. Talk to you later. See you on the next episode.
Thank you, Joe.